Right, guys, I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know it's been a long couple of weeks with November 1st deadlines and the election, and then the 15th looming in the future. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to um, come and learn a little bit more about what's going on with SACAC. So now my screen won't advance. There we go. All right, so this is our agenda for today. I'll talk to you for a little bit and we'll go through some different committee updates. I'm thankful that we have representative from almost every committee on the PowerPoint today to join in and tell you about what's going on this semester with their committee. And then I have a couple of things that I want to highlight specifically with Louisiana. And we have here Mia Edwards, who is a Louisiana rep for the ACT, to talk about the updates to the ACT for the future. I know several of you were likely heard her speak at the LACRO meetings, but I do find that repetition is always good, particularly because in the testing landscape, there has been so much change from both testing agencies in the recent past. So it's nice to hear it again and be reinforced about what is coming down the pipeline. Okay, so those of you who don't know me, my name is Allie Timberlake. I am the college counselor at Academy of the Sacred Heart. This is year 4 here for me, but I have been in college admissions and college counseling for over 25 years. So while I'm relatively new to Sacred Heart, I am not new to the profession. I do also like to point out, though, that I am a new member of SACAC. So when I was in college admissions at the beginning of my career, I was very involved in SACAC. But just recently, I had the opportunity to actually chair this committee with Alice Gonzalez over at Newman. And this is only my second year being in SACAC again. So there are a lot of things that are exciting to me to discover, to connections to make, and exciting things for the future. And so I know that we're going to hear a lot about that today. And I'm excited to be here with you guys. Okay, so likely everyone here knows what is SACAC, or you wouldn't be uh, on this call. But I do think it's important to just sort of restate what our goals are every time we get together, because it is important, particularly in, again, the ever-changing landscape, to know that we are working together to promote ethical responsibility, to provide access to all types of constituents, to advocate on our students' behalf, to work with each other to find professional likes and dislikes, and try to move the whole profession forward. SACAC is quite large, as we all know. Right here, we're from the state of Louisiana, but SACAC is the Southern Association. So there are 9 different states that are associated with this organization. And there are lots of opportunities to get involved. As you can see, there are many different committees throughout SACAC, and it's really exciting, I think. And again, you have to remember that I'm a newbie again. Really exciting to see all of the different ways that you can get involved, particularly in the state of Louisiana. Um, we know higher education isn't, or even education in general, isn't as strong in Louisiana as it is in other places. And so I think it's really wonderful that we work together to provide opportunities for those large populations of underserved and underrepresented students. And I know that a lot of the people here on this call are thankfully in a position to be able to contribute and to give back. So these are just a couple of the ways that you all can get involved in SACAC. And again, we'll have updates for many of these different committees throughout this meeting. So the advancement committee is chaired by Julia Hodge, and unfortunately she was unable to attend today, but she did send along some information that she wanted me to report. So the advancement committee is working toward finding sponsors for the SACAC annual conference. If you guys haven't heard, it's going to be held at the end of March, so March 30th and 31st, with pre-conference activities starting the Saturday before. And the theme of this year is going to be embrace the moment, inspire, inform, and impact. And I think that this theme really does resonate with a lot of us these days, trying to get our students on board and trying to extend outreach to other communities that may not have the opportunities that a lot of our students have. I also added this chart. I'm certain that you're not going to remember all of the things that are listed here, but this meeting is recorded. And so if you want to come back and look at it or maybe take a screenshot of the presentation, I think this is a really good thing to have on hand, particularly if you or your school work with any vendors. You may want to share that with them, this information with them, and see if they can get on board to do any sort of partial sponsorship for the SACAC program. It's a really great way to get their name out into the community. So that might be an easy way to help the advancement committee with their goal. Okay, and with that, we have communications committee. Is Celeste here? No? Okay. Um, Celeste from the communications committee updated this information. I see. Here we go. Okay. So if you want to be involved in the communications committee, this is sort of background on what they do. So they connect members with one another, with leadership within the organization, with different news and trends, as well as information about the programs and initiatives that SACAC has. And most of the work that people do on the communications committee are going to be working on the Southern Scope publication that SACAC publishes. They also will draft and distribute special statements on behalf of the presidential team, and then work with board committee members. So it's a really great opportunity if you have that inkling to perhaps use your write some more, use your literary background and want to help move the organization forward, or perhaps find interesting and timely topics to discuss with other members of the community. So if any of you guys want to be involved, the information is listed there. You'd have to apply in May, so there's plenty of time to do that. We'll probably talk about this again at the SACAC meeting at the conference. And you can certainly start being involved now by submitting any pictures, story ideas, or other suggestions to the communications email. Okay, do we have Julia or Marshall here from the Government Relations Committee?
I think we're both here actually.
Okay.
We are.
Um, so government relations, I think you've got on there, yeah, the legislative day. That's 9 to 2. So we're gonna attempt to do in person with the legislative day. Of course, Louisiana's legislative session is so late in the year. I'm pretty confident we are the last of all of the SACAC legislative days just because of the nature of the calendar. I know that pushes us up against, man, getting close to AP testing and all of that kind of stuff. But if y'all are interested in joining us, we would certainly love to have you.
Yes. And like last year, we're going to do postcard writing to our legislators and go over the current bills, which can inform the content for those postcards. And then we are going to try to see if we can get any meetings with legislators in person. And
Absolutely.
if anybody has connections that they want to pull to help get some people in our room, we would absolutely be open to any suggestions you have or reach outs that you would recommend.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes, I know for me, April 29th is so late in the year being the AP coordinator, but hopefully there'll be lots of people who are able to attend and make some difference within the Louisiana legislature.
Yeah, so it was a little tricky this year with the conference, and then a lot of schools have spring break in April. So, but this actually was an earlier date, when we had looked at some that were a little bit later in the week. So hopefully it works for some people, but we understand, of course, if it doesn't.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julia and Marshall. Okay, next up is Finance Committee.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Iris.
Yeah, hello. So my name is Iris Martinez. I am half of the finance committee along with my colleague Justine. So we basically oversee two of our grants and funding opportunities. One is called the Counselor Participation Fund, which provides financial assistance to our members to participate in our SACAC events. This year, this is when we start. This is year two of providing two deadlines, right? So if any of you want to need funding to participate in the annual conference, summer seminar, the annual conference, the deadline is coming up December 3rd. So that's like the for the first round. The second round of applications, it's for the summer professional development opportunities, such as summer seminars, sweet tea, and dry run. So there's two rounds. The first one being conference again, and that's coming up. We do give priority and preference to those counselors working in public high schools and CBOs. And then the second one is extending the Dream Grant, and that enables our members to establish and pay for special projects in their communities that benefit students. We will have an informational session later in February, so stay tuned, and that application will open then. I'd like to give you some context. So like for the CPF, the Counselor Participation Fund, this past year, we were able to provide funding to 27 members through the CPS fund to participate in the annual conference, summer seminar, and the sweet tea tour. So just as a reminder, the deadline for CPF for the annual conference is December 3rd, and the application for funding for the SACAC Summer Professional Development Opportunities is going to open up later in the spring, and it'll be due in later in the spring as well, with enough time for members to plan and get that green light from your colleges or high schools. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I will put our contact information in the chat. Thank you all.
Nope, you're good. I'm sorry. Inclusion, access, and success. Lucy?
I'm here.
No?
Sorry, I was having some technical difficulty. I'm here.
No worries. No worries. Go
Sorry about
ahead.
that. All right, we can go to the next slide.
Yes.
So I'm Lucy Smith. I'm one of two co-chairs for the Inclusion, Access, and Success Committee. My co-chair is Juan Acosta, who is based out of Atlanta, and I am in Charlotte. So we have a few initiatives that I wanted to share with you all. One that you might have hit your inbox recently, which is the discussion club or book club. We haven't really landed on an official name because we're sort of discussing different forms of media as it relates to inclusion, access, and success. So our first meeting is actually happening next week on the 14th at noon Eastern time. And so please look for that email in your inbox so that you can sign up, get more information about this meeting and future meetings as well. But it should be a great year to discuss lots of very important topics. On the next slide, this talks about another one of our initiatives, which is the college admission workshops. With college admission workshops, basically what we are doing is we are sharing information about college applications, selection, financial aid, all different kinds of topics, with the target audience being students and families who don't, and counselors actually, where maybe information about these topics is not as readily available. And so they are free with that intention. So we offer them virtually on a variety of topics. And so if you want to see our library of past webinars, that's where that QR code will take you. It's on the SACAC website. And then we also host them in person. And so this year in Louisiana, the point person is Kirsten McPherson. She is in Shreveport. So that date is TBD, but most likely sometime in the spring semester. So reach out to her if you would like to volunteer or just learn more about it. Same thing actually with virtual workshops. If you are interested in not just seeing what we've already offered, but maybe even being a presenter. We would love to have you. So reach out to us. Our email address is access@sacac.org. We would love to have lots of wisdom to share with families and with other counselors too. And then on our last slide, it's about the conference outreach project, which is something else that we are tasked with, and that is in conjunction with the annual conference. So it will be happening in Atlanta this year, of course. And so the conference outreach project will be that Saturday before the conference, so March 29th. And it'll be very similar to a college admission workshop where we'll be offering college information to primarily public school families in the Atlanta area. So if you plan to come to the conference, hopefully you'll mark that date, maybe volunteer with us to be able to share information with the families in that area. And then the last thing I'll add, which might come up later in other people speaking, but just wanted to remind people that, especially as Juan and I are rolling off the board this year, that it's been an amazing 3 years, and we definitely encourage people who might want to serve on the board. You don't get to pick your committee or anything, but you do get to be a part of a really amazing group of people who have students and counselors in mind and our profession in mind. And so would encourage you all to think about applying for the board. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Lucy. Really appreciate that. Next up, we have Alex with Member Relations.
Hey, good morning, everybody. A warm hello from the Member Relations Committee. I'm Alex Gonzalez at Isidore Newman School here in New Orleans. And I'm also sending warm wishes from my co-chairs, Crystal Livingston and Brent Shropshire. And I think really just in this hectic time of year, it's really important to pause and acknowledge just the scope and magnitude of the work, your hard work, the work of this organization, and acknowledge that we are part of something big. Sometimes our work feels small and in the trenches, but we are part of something big. We have 2,317 members across the region that are really collaborating and working together in support of the mission that Allie spoke about earlier, really advocating for student access. So thank you. I think this is really just the Member Relations Committee's way of pausing and helping you feel a part of something bigger and offering some gratitude for the work that you're doing on the daily. That said, if there's somebody in your professional circle that is not involved in SACAC, relationships really matter. Personal invitation really matters. That is how I became, affiliated with SACAC as I was a new member. So reaching out to those colleagues that could benefit from being a part of this larger organization and the opportunities that we have for networking and collaboration. If you'd like to refer anybody to Member Relations or even just to the SACAC website that can tap into all of the opportunities that we have available, please encourage them to do so. I also want to remind you all that we do have the free access membership for public school counselors and CBOs. So we don't want cost to be a barrier to be a part of this organization and the good work that we're doing. So next slide. I also want to quickly kind of talk about the fact that we just launched a really exciting initiative, a mentor hub. We had our first virtual gathering yesterday, November 6th, but we have a few other dates already on the calendar. And this is really an opportunity for those that have been in the profession for several years and are perhaps ready to share their guidance and offer some support to those that are just joining our profession and might be interested in collaborating and being paired with a mentor. So be on the lookout for information and how to kind of register for one of these gatherings in those awesome, really comprehensive What's Coming Wednesday emails that land in your inbox every Wednesday. Let's see. And then along with the Mentor Hub, we have other opportunities for you all to collaborate. So the SIGs, the special interest groups, are such an amazing way to take this much larger 2,000 person community and build micro communities and connect with colleagues that have shared interest, have shared affinities, and to kind of brainstorm and problem solve as we gather in these spaces. So again, be on the lookout for the meeting dates. We will all the SIGs will meet in person at the at the in-person conference, the annual conference in Atlanta in March. But we are picking up the pace of our virtual meetings at this time of year as the academic year progresses. So be on the lookout for the dates and the gathering spaces, and that's what's coming Wednesday email. Again, another plug for checking that email. It's such a great comprehensive piece of information for you guys to be referring to.
All right, thank you so much, Alex. Malika, you're up for Professional Development Committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Malika Lindsay. I'm one of 3 chairs for the Professional Development Committee. My partners are Mia Walker from Agnes Scott in Atlanta and Allison North, who is at George Washington University, is a regional representative for George Washington. We have several things, pretty much the marquee programs that happen in SACAC that we're responsible for leading. The mentorship program continues to be developing, but certainly if you're interested in being a mentor or know someone who could use a mentor, we could all use mentorship, please refer to that QR code and find out what you can about the mentorship program. SACAC Leads is our basically our leadership incubator program for folks who are interested in becoming engaged with SACAC, but maybe they're middle management or they're new, they don't know how to access the sort of levers of things within the organization. It's a great opportunity to learn a lot about our profession and about SACAC and to thoroughly engage in leadership and making SACAC an even better and more responsive organization. So I've seen participants in SACAC Leads wind up on our board. So it's definitely worth encouraging folks to pursue that program, and information will be coming soon about SACAC Leads. We're seeking out new co-chairs right now. Next. As you know, or maybe you don't know, so let me clarify, Summer Seminar is a program that specifically exists to serve newer college counseling professionals. So those of us who are on what we refer to as the high school side of the desk, we are excited to let y'all know that Summer Seminar for 2025 will be in Nashville, co-hosted by Belmont and Vanderbilt. So we're expecting to have a great time in Nashville. Dry Run is for newer admissions counselors. And so those folks who are often the road runners in your offices and that kind of thing, it's an ideal opportunity for them to connect with each other and to learn the ins and outs of effectively doing the work that they do in a really sort of almost camp atmosphere. That will be held at Rollins College in Florida in 2025. So keep your eyes open for more details about Dry Run in the coming months. The Sweet Tea Tour, which is a perennial favorite, is going to engage South Florida this year. And the route will become public early in the spring. But certainly South Florida is the region, and when registration opens for Sweet Tea every year, it fills up incredibly quickly. So if you know someone who might be interested in getting a better handle on the admissions process at particular schools, please encourage them to look out for Sweet Tea Tour and to register as soon as Sweet Tea Tour opens up. So that they can have that opportunity. We move to different parts of our region each year, and so yes, South Florida is this year. And then, of course, and someone else will get into much more detail about this, the annual conference is coming in Atlanta, Georgia. Registration opens up in a few weeks, and we're very excited. Many of you have probably submitted proposals for sessions for annual conference, and it's just an amazing opportunity to learn from each other about the work that we do and to support one another. It's like a big family reunion for many of us. And so we hope that you will join us in Atlanta. It's in a hub, so it's going to be a huge conference this year. But we would love to see all of you and work to engage you. One last note, I am also the admissions practices chair for SACAC. Admissions practices is less and less a factor at this point in history, but if there are ethical or other concerns that have come up for you or relating to your work that you need to touch base with someone about, I'm your girl. So please don't hesitate to check the website and reach out if there are things that you'd like to talk about or need some support with as relates to ethical concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Malika. I did not realize that you were part of the Admission Practices Committee, and that's wonderful news because unfortunately, a year doesn't go by where I don't have an issue with a procedure of a college. So that's wonderful to know that you are here to advocate for our students as well. I want to give one more plug before I move off this screen to the SACAC conference. I went again for the first time in a very long time last year, and it was incredible the amount of networking and just the community that was there. The sessions I felt were extremely tailored to my particular needs and interests, much more so than the NACAC conference. I mean, certainly we can get things from that, but I do believe that there are differences within regions in terms of college admissions and counseling. And this last conference was really special and really informative. And so I hope that all of you are able to at least try to make some time out of your schedule to attend this conference. And I'll revert back to the not extending the dream, the counselor participation fund. So if it's something where perhaps funding isn't quite there for you within your budget, please make sure that you apply for those funds before December, beginning of December, and hopefully that will give you the opportunity to go if you are unable to do so without that support. So moving forward, just to briefly talk about state updates, we really don't have that much that we haven't covered. I want to restate that Louisiana Legislative Day is Tuesday, April 29th, and more information will certainly be forthcoming on that. But if that's something you're interested in, please make sure that you pencil that into your calendar as soon as you can to make sure that you're available for that. The other thing I wanted to highlight is the Louisiana Counselor Drive-In. Is Danielle on the call and want to make a comment? If not, I'm certainly happy to go over it.
Marshall's here as well. I'm not going to be on camera, but I'm here. So for the SACAC Counselor Drive-In, it will be virtual this year on Wednesday, February 12th. We'll send out registration closer to the time. It will be in the What's Coming Wednesday email updates. Some of the sessions that we plan to have we're going to have a counselor talking about counselor self-care, which is so important right now. We'll have some legislative updates with LOSFA, but we're also interested to know what counselors feel, what topics they feel are most important for them. So can I drop a link into the chat? Okay. So I'm going to add this link into the chat, and if you all want to fill it out, it's anonymous up until you tell us that you want to present, because then we're going to need some contact information. But it's really just a way to make sure that we're providing information that is useful to those who are attending. Of course, we really love for drive-in to reach our public school counselors as much as possible. So I'm excited that next week I'm going to the NOLA CCAN event. Great, look at that. It's their Life at the High School Summit, and this particular organization or convening of counselors is really focused on public school counselors and community-based organizations. So I'll be there tabling for SACAC and really pushing the free access membership, the counselor participation fund, and really getting our Louisiana public school counselors and CBO advisors hip to what's happening in SACAC and how we can best partner with them and support them in the work.
Great.
And
Thank you
Danielle,
so much. Go
you're
ahead,
gonna
Marshall.
try to
Sorry.
get them to fill out that form too, right? And
Yes,
ask
we're gonna have, we're gonna have that what topics are interest of top of mind for you available for the counselors there too, because like I said, we want to make sure that the drive-in is not a repeat of all the other professional development, but it's really filling in the gaps of what they're not getting.
Danielle, I hate to put you on the spot right here, but I just thought of it. I know that in our email communication, you had spoken about how you were going to have a one-pager to share with them. Is that
Yes.
possible to share in the chat or share with me and I can get it out to the community so that when we are attending, I have a couple of breakfasts or lunches still throughout this semester. And I know I see a lot more people at like the University of Alabama luncheon than I would necessarily at SACAC. Is that a document that you could provide for us so that we could possibly have it to hand out to any other public school counselors or CBO counselors that we see at these events?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alex created the document. I see her, she's shaking her head. So I think she has a electronic copy that she can add.
I'm happy to share that. I'll try to dig it up right now and drop it in the chat. And if I can't, I'll email it to you directly, Allie, and we can kind of push it out to anybody that's here today if we want with the registration list.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Alex and Danielle. Okay, so with that, we are going to have Mia Edwards speak to us a little bit on ACT updates. I'm going to let her go and see if I can also make her a co-host. And if not, I'll be running the slides. She will probably show up as Diana McAfee, but it is Mia Edwards from the ACT. So with that, I'm going to hand her the floor.
So let me make sure I can.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sure. Are you going to move it for me?
Yeah, I'm going to move it for you.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mia Edwards. I am the ACT account executive for the state of Louisiana. A little bit about my background. I am a retired Louisiana educator. I worked for 34 years in Ascension Parish. I served as the assistant principal and principal of Santa Monica High School before serving as the director of secondary schools for Ascension Parish. So I'm very familiar with the school setting. And I just want to say you all are doing wonderful things and to thank you for supporting students as they continue their pathway for college readiness and for making sure that they get the resources that they need to do that. You have my contact information. So as I go through this, feel free to raise your hand or whatever. I'll be happy to stop and answer any questions that you may have, but also feel free to call or email me if you have specific questions for your school. So I do want to say this up front that we are changing some of the things about the, obviously I think you've all heard some things about the ACT that we believe is going to be a better experience for our test takers. But with all of that and saying that and what we're changing, I want you to realize that what we use the ACT for has not changed and that will not change. It's still a predictor of college readiness. Universities will still use the information that we provide. Students will still get a super score. We will still have benchmarks. We're looking at whether or not things need to be adjusted, but the validity and the reliability of our test and the predictive measures of the ACT are not changing with when these changes take effect. You can go ahead and change it. So I included this in here just because I do get a lot of questions about why we're changing and what are some of the things that we've heard. And I'm not going to read through all of this for you. It's here for you to have. But, you know, we kind of, as we do surveys and kind of administer the test, we do get feedback from test coordinators, from students, from parents. And so over the years, we've listened to that feedback. And so we feel like the changes that we're making are going to be reflective of what's been asked of us from our community of testers. I do have the link here. It looks kind of funny on here, but I don't know if it's, you know, because of the presentation, but I do have the link on here. And so this will take you to this page where there's a short video of the ACT enhancements. It'll just kind of repeat what I'm saying today. And then it has the handout there that you can see that kind of answers a lot of the questions as well and provides a little bit more information. So I put that there as a resource page for you. So you can move on to the next slide. So when does all of this start? So it starts with national online testing in April of 2025. And I don't know if you have anxious students that are ready to sign up for their test, but the April test registration is not open yet until we've finalized everything and we know that we're ready to move forward with our enhanced ACT test. So some of the things that are changing is that we'll have fewer items and shorter passages, which provides more time for students to spend on particular items. The math answer choices are reduced from 5 to 4. All of the other tests had 4 choices for the multiple choice except for math. So we're just reducing that to align it with the other components of the test. The testing time is shorter, so it'll take about 2 hours. And they can choose to take the science section of the test for added flexibility. So no longer will the core ACT be the 4 core subjects, add writing. It'll be the 3 core subjects, English, math, and reading, add science and writing. And so when I talk about this, I like to just kind of say, think about this as think about science the same way that you think about writing, because it kind of, all of the things that apply with stipulations to writing are the same thing with science, the add-on for science. The enhancements that's fine. Okay, so when does it affect
Go back,
you?
sorry.
Oh, I'm good. I was just going to read that last, thing starting in 2025. So it starts with online national testing in the spring of 2025. It then moves to fall national testing online paper pencil. And then.
That's me.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
You can move to the next one. And then it'll move to state and district testing in spring of 2026. So we have a little over a year to kind of prep our schools for school and state testing. If you have a lot of your students do national testing, they will be affected, starting in April if they take the online test. One of the things that we're changing is the way that we report out a composite score. So obviously, if science becomes optional, it can't be included in the composite, just like writing doesn't become included in the composite. So the new composite score will be English, math, and reading. All enhancements, including the science choice, will start with spring 2026 testing window for state and district testing. And the flexibility to give subject tests on different days also begins in the spring of 2026. So what that says there is that you can do science on a separate day from the other core pieces of the test. I am hearing that LDOE, you all don't do school district tests. I'm sorry, state testing. But I'm hearing that LDOE is going to require us to take the science part of the test. So here's just a little timeline of how things will progress. So April 2025, national online, September 25, ACT national paper and international. But it does say here that updated composite score for all ACT tests. So any ACT test that is given to a student or that a student takes beginning September 25 will get the new composite, the new EMR composite. And then in spring 2026, state and district testing will be affected by the enhancements. We won't change how we communicate to higher ed. We give them, you know, all of the scores that a student gets. If they choose to take science, we get the science score. And look, we've had conversations with higher ed before we went into making science become optional and asked, like, how does this affect enrollment, or how does this affect acceptance? And we were told that it won't really affect them at all. One of the other things I like to mention, because I get questions about the composite not having science in it, as to does that affect a student positively or negatively? And it really depends on the student. If they're good in science or not, it could have an effect on their overall composite score. But in the studies that ACT has done, we've taken thousands of students' composite scores with science, taken the same student scores and removed science and calculated a composite, and it changed less than a point. And I know a point can make a difference when you're talking about a 19 or a 20, you know, with TOPS, but hopefully it's in the positive direction and not the negative. But overall, it's a very low change in composite with or without the science. So some of the things that are not changing is that we are going to continue to offer paper and online. It's basically the same linear format. It's going to be a score of 1 to 36. Scores from previous tests we are not going to go back and recalculate composite or super scores with that. Those will stay, and we'll just continue to move out, and then those will eventually, you know, get factored out as we move along. They'll still measure what students need to learn. That's most important for post-secondary, and we're going to continue to provide all the resources that we normally provide. And so the new composite, as I mentioned earlier, will be English, math, reading. We just kind of refer to it as the EMR, starting in fall of 2025. And so the STEM score will be affected, because only if you take the science part will you get a STEM score. And so our recommendation is that if a student is even slightly considering going into a STEM major field, that they take the science part. The best time to take that science part is while they're in school learning science and you know, working towards standards that are college ready. So we would suggest that they take it so that they have that information. If we know we have somebody going into English or journalism, the STEM score might not be the thing for them. They might want to take the writing part and get an ELA score. So it's really specific to the student. You all as a school could make a decision as to what you want them to do. We're administering this in district testing, and we're providing the science part. That's really a decision that you all would have to make too. So the super scores basically are just going to kind of be the same, but they're going to be determined by English, math, reading, not including the science. We'll transition all composite scores in September of 2025, and we'll continue to support all scores to the universities. So I also put in here some commonly asked questions because as I've been through the different LACRO meetings this summer and my CCRWs, here's some common questions that I was getting. How will the price of the ACT be affected? So the cost of the core test, which is now EMR, will be decreasing a little bit, and the science add-on will be an additional minimal fee, which will probably make up for what the core is now. But if you're not taking science, the test cost will decrease a little bit. How will this affect TOPS? LOSFA basically has not put out a statement one way, you know, indicating how this might affect student LOSFA applications. What they did say was that they are aware of the change. They're looking at it. They'll determine any effects that the enhancements have on TOPS qualification, and we'll communicate that out, you know, to students and schools. So what changes can you expect on the test? And I put this here in with highlighted because they are subject to change. So this is what we're pushing for and what we're looking for. And this is what, when we are doing our field testing, and we've been field testing this for several national administrations. And so this is what we think the changes will be, but things may be tweaked a little bit. But for right now, this is what we think that it's going to be. So the English section will have 25 fewer items than before, with 35 minutes to test. So it's 25 fewer items, but also 10 minutes less, but it still allows, let's see. But it still allows the student 6 seconds of additional time per question on the English test. The reading section will have 4 fewer items with 5 additional minutes. And so this will allow students 7 additional seconds per item. The math section will have 15 fewer items than before with 15, that's a little typo there, with 15 minutes to test. So it's 10 minutes less time, but 15 fewer items. And so it adds about, it adds about 7 seconds for the math. The science will have the same number of items with 10 additional minutes. So for science, students get 7.5 additional seconds per question. And I want to go back to the reading for a second because I did make an error there. The reading section will have 4 fewer items with 5 additional minutes, giving the student 14 additional seconds per item on the test. So English is 6 seconds per item. Reading is 14 seconds per item. Math is an additional 7 seconds, and science is an additional 7.5 seconds. So we believe that with the enhancements that we're making, we're really going to give students an opportunity to show us more about what they know about the questions rather than the, answer of the day and things such as that. Will the fee waiver cover the science add-on? Yes, the fee waiver includes writing and science, so it covers the complete test battery. How does this affect the college readiness benchmarks that we, use as our predicting measure? Right now, they are as they have always been. As we get more information from studying to determine, is this what students that have, make an ARB in their college entry-level class, is this still an accurate score to use as a benchmark? We'll make those determinations and update the benchmarks as we need to.
That was it.
And that was it for me. So I don't know if you all have any questions.
Any questions from anyone on this?
Allie, I know you mentioned that we're going to get the recording. Will we also get a copy of the PowerPoint?
I will send, if that's okay with you, Mia, I will send that as well.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
And you all have my information in that PowerPoint, so please reach out if you have any questions. Allie, I want to thank you for, inviting me to join you all today. And again, thank you for the work that you do with our students and getting them what they need, the resources, and preparing them as they seek their college opportunities.
Yes, thank you so much, Mia. It was very informative. I attended a LACRO conference and I still learned much more than I did the first time around. So I really appreciate you spending time with us.
It's very new.
All right. So with that, I want to do one final plug for SACAC memberships. This is perhaps the most affordable membership fee of any professional organization that I am involved in. So $45 is the fee. And as well, if you or anybody you know, any of your peers in counseling and admissions are struggling with budget, there are free access memberships. So just go to the website and find that information, and it's there. And the annual membership obviously goes from September to August 31st, but it's a great opportunity. You don't have to wait until next year. You're not too late if you haven't already joined. So with that, I want to thank you all for this. I will be emailing the documents that Alex sent over, as well as the recording of the PowerPoint and Mia's slides for you. If there's any more questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And I know that we'll be in touch soon.
Allie, I don't have a question, but I do want to say a couple words, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to bring greetings from the State and Area Initiatives team. My name is Monique Tubbs, and I am one of 3 that serves on this team for SACAC. My counterparts, Kristen and Darren, from 2 other states. I am from the great state of Florida, bringing you greetings. But I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to everyone that's on the call. Such great information. Thank you to all of our SACAC leaders. I see you guys, the board members that are on. I believe I saw Christy Connolly still on, one of our past presidents. And thank you for showing up. I know how busy your days are, how your time is so invaluable, but thank you for showing up. To the ACT representative that you had present, I have some notes and I'm excited to take back to reach out to my rep so I can make sure my counselors are aware of these updates. So thank you. And most importantly, I want to just give a huge shout out. And if you guys could put in the chat or give some reactions to Allie. Allie held it down and around by herself as the SAI chair for Louisiana. And that is a lift. And we appreciate you. We're grateful for you. We're grateful for your service and your commitment to SACAC. You came back and you came back with force. So yes, your second year, but you are an inspiration to those of us that are those that are new in SACAC, to inspire them to go ahead and start getting engaged and involved. And with that, I just want to do a shameless plug. I'm going to put in the chat the link directly to register for if you're interested in volunteering, and also the board members, those of us that were on the call. You may have heard from us for the first time, but that gives you an idea to put a name with a face and with a committee. So before you complete that volunteer form, you can maybe reach out and ask some questions if you want to connect with the board member to learn a little bit more about their committee and see how maybe you could volunteer and serve. It's in the chat for you. I just want to go ahead one more time. The public school counselor in me has to plug CPF, because to be transparent, that was the only way I was able to attend my first 2 SACACs when I was school-based. And even now, as a district employee, I am training school counselors. I'm pushing and plugging it. SACAC also provides letters of support. So if you need to share with your administration the reasoning behind why you need to be present to become the best version of you, SACAC has that as well on their website. With that, I thank you. Awesome session, Allie, and to everyone that was here. And I hope you all have a fantabulous rest of your day. And I hope I see you at SACAC.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful Thursday.